Welcome back to the healing space. Today's episode is called The People You Needed May Never Become Who You Need. This may be one of the hardest episodes of the season because it requires us to accept a painful truth. Sometimes the people we love the most are not the people we can depend on. Sometimes the people we need never become who we need them to be. And healing begins when we stop waiting for them to change. Let's talk about it. One of the greatest sources of emotional pain is unmet expectations. Not because we expected perfection, not because we expected people to save us, but because we expected the people closest to us to care, to show up, to be there, to support us when life got hard. And when they don't, it creates a type of heartbreak that is difficult to explain because the pain isn't always what happened. Sometimes the pain is realizing who wasn't there when it happened. Let's talk about someone who found themselves in one of the hardest seasons of their life. Financial hardship, unexpected bills, stress, the kind of season where everything feels uncertain. Now, this wasn't someone who constantly asked for help. In fact, they were usually the opposite. They were independent, responsible, the person who always figured things out on their own, the one everyone could count on. But then life happened, and for perhaps the first time, they genuinely needed support. Not someone to rescue them, not someone to solve all their problems, just someone to care, someone to check in, someone to ask, "Are you okay?" Someone to remind them they weren't carrying everything alone. But something unexpected happened. The family they thought would be there wasn't there. The friends they thought would show up didn't show up. The people they spent years pouring into suddenly became unavailable, silent, distant, absent. And that's when the realization hit. The people they needed were not the people they had. And that realization hurt more than a financial struggle itself, because hardship has a way of revealing relationships. It exposes who is present because they care and who is present only when life is easy. This leads to the pain of acceptance. Many people spend years waiting to be supported, waiting for friends to become dependable, waiting for partners to become emotionally available, waiting for people to finally become who they need them to be. But what if they never do? What if they've already shown you exactly who they are? That's a painful question, because acceptance often requires grieving, not grieving the loss of a person, but grieving the loss of an expectation. The expectation that one day they'll change, one day they'll show up, one day they'll become who you've needed all along. We keep hoping because hope feels safer than acceptance. Hope allows us to believe the next holiday will be different. The next birthday will be different. The next will be different. But eventually, reality begins speaking louder than hope. And healing requires us to listen, because patterns tell stories, repeated behavior tells stories, consistency tells stories, and often the story isn't what we wanted to hear. Love and capacity, this is important. Sometimes people love you, but they still don't have the capacity to be who you need. They may care about you, but they lack emotional maturity. They lack consistency. They lack reliability. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can help us stop personalizing it, because sometimes people cannot give what they do not possess. Healing begins when you stop waiting, when you stop chasing, when you stop hoping someone will become who they've repeatedly shown you they are not. That doesn't mean you stop loving them. It doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you've accepted reality. And acceptance is one of the most powerful forms of healing. Ask yourself, what relationships am I maintaining based on hope instead of evidence? Have people's actions shown me who they are? Those questions can change your life. Acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is seeing clearly. People's actions reveal their priorities. You can offer people to become who you need. You deserve relationships that feel supportive, not disappointing. Stop waiting for evidence that contradicts the pattern. One of the most painful truths in life is realizing that the people you needed may never become who you need. But one of the most freeing truths is realizing that you no longer have to wait for them to. Healing begins when you accept people for who they are, not who you hope they'll become, not who they promise they become, not who you need them to become, who they are, because acceptance creates peace, and peace creates healing. Learn to accept what people have consistently shown you and adjust your expectations accordingly. I am Maya Sol. Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and most importantly, keep choosing you.